some 9 years after his UFC debut in Dublin. It's the great Paddy Holohan who will be coaching the second Irish-born woman to compete inside the octagon. The Mama B era is about to kick off in a very big way on Saturday, and it's a great pleasure to have the one and only Shauna Bannon on the program. There she is, joining us from London right now, just days away from her big UFC debut. How are you? Thank you for coming on.
I'm great. Thanks so much for having me. Thanks for the deadly intro as well. That was good. I liked that.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. This is so lovely and exciting to have another Irish woman in the UFC. And I love looking at your social media. It feels like you're buzzing. You're capturing every moment from when you arrive to the gloves to the outfit. Are you just on cloud nine now, even before the debut on Saturday?
Yeah, I'm really taking it all in and I'm enjoying it. This is everything I've worked towards my whole life, you know? So I'm just taking it all in and enjoying every second.
Are you emotional heading into the debut? How are you processing all of this?
Do you know, when I put the gloves on the other day and I tried them on and I closed them over, I did get a little bit of a where emotion came over me, but I'm here to do a job. If I cry when I win, that's grand, but I'm here to do a job and I'm super focused on that at the moment.
Are you a crier? Do you usually cry when you win?
No, not really. I cried my first fight back after Jace, just because it was such a mad road to get back there and to be back fighting and to get the win. I had a little tear then, but no, not really, no. I'm not a crier. I more go crazy and jump around and scream and shout and dance and jump on top of the couch. That's more my reaction.
And of course, Jace is your young son, who is your reason why, as you say. And I want to ask you about him in a moment. But you are just, I mean, you're a neophyte in this game. You're just 5-0. And I know you've been kickboxing for a very long time. And I know your family heavily involved in the kickboxing world. But as far as MMA is concerned, your pro debut came in 2022, not that long ago, just a little over a year ago. Did you expect things to happen so quickly for you? Did you expect to make it to the UFC this soon?
Yeah, well, I had in my head to make it before the end of the year. I was very active. When I went pro, I was getting my fights back to back, back to back. So I had 5 fights in a 12-month period. And then it kind of just came about. The UFC called and it was talks about the contenders first. And then they seen more of my fights and they said, no, we'll sign you straight away. And then they were like, what about the London cards? And I was like, yeah, let's go. I'm ready.
Wow. When you got the call, where were you? What were the circumstances? Like when you got the call that the UFC wanted you for London, how did it all go down?
It was a text message and do you know what? Like I didn't feel like it was real. I was like, what? and then I was kind of like, and there was a bit of back and forth with the Invicta thing. But then that all got sorted. So there was a thing where I was like, I'm signed. Then I didn't know whether it was going to be possible, and then it all worked out. So there was a 2-week period where it was kind of like him and Han, but I was still training as if I was fighting this weekend. I didn't stop. I was in camp and I was cutting the weight and I was doing everything I needed to do. And then when I finally got announced, I was kind of just like, do you know what? Like, this is what I've worked my whole life towards. I'm training since I'm 3 years old. I've been kicking and punching since I came out of the womb nearly. And I've dedicated my whole life to martial arts and now the rewards are about to come.
Wow. So training since you were 3, how were you introduced at such a young age?
So my dad opened a kickboxing gym when I was born, the year I was born. So he had that going like 3 years. So I was even practicing at home before then. As soon as I was walking, I was kicking and punching. And then I started in the gym when I was 3 and was competing fairly soon after, and then things just took off from there. Like kickboxing was my world growing up, you know. I was going to world championships, European championships, international tournaments all the time. I was constantly traveling and competing. So that was like literally my whole life. And then transitioning into MMA, I was like, how did I not find this sooner? Because I just feel like I can truly express myself as a martial artist in MMA. There's so much to it. There's so much about it. It's so exciting. You can constantly learn. I don't think you'll ever know everything about MMA. It's just constantly developing and growing. And there's so much to it, all the different aspects of martial arts. And I just love every bit of it.
By the way, when you're growing up and you're competing in these competitions in kickboxing, what are your friends saying? Like, do they think it's weird that you're doing this? Are they supportive of you? Are you not telling them? How's that going down?
No, No, they were all super supportive. I think it was just normal to them because it was what I always done. They never knew me not as a fighter. So it was just what they knew. And all my friends and family are so supportive. Like they really are. There is a few that are like, oh, I can't look at that, but they still support me. So
how old are you when the Irish MMA explosion happens in the UFC? I talked about 2014, Paddy, you know, Dublin, all that stuff. Conor, the year before. Like at that stage, how old are you? And are you aware of all this going down?
yeah, so like I was aware of it. I would have been, me and maths now aren't great. So I'm 29 now. So that was about 10 years ago. So I was like
Okay.
19, I suppose. So Paddy was from Tallaght. That's the same area that I live in. So we both lived in Tallaght. So I knew of Paddy, and then obviously the Conor thing exploded, and like I was always watching in the background, but I wasn't really invested in it because I was just so tunnel vision on kickboxing. So I didn't really care about anything else in the world. I was like, my Wacko World title is the most important thing to me, and that's what I was working towards. And then there'd always be goals in kickboxing, and I was just super focused on that. I didn't really care what other people were doing. But then how I got into MMA was I actually started doing Olympic style taekwondo. Because my thing was to go to the Olympics, and kickboxing wasn't getting in at any time where I was going to be active. So I switched to taekwondo for like a year and a half, and it was in the same period where Paddy was transitioning from one gym to another, and they had nowhere to train. So they were training in my dad's kickboxing gym in the taekwondo place where I was training. So it would be like the end of our class, and they'd be coming in and starting and warming up and doing jiu-jitsu. And I was like, going on there? Like it looked mad to me because it was like all gi jiu-jitsu as well. It was none of it was no gi, and I was like, what are they doing? But I was interested. And then the year and a half in taekwondo, like I really tried to make it work, but it just wasn't for me. I missed punching. It was very traditional. There was lots of rules. It just didn't suit my style. So then I was like, do you know what? I'm gonna give jiu-jitsu a go. And I got onto Paddy, and I was like, can I come over and do some jiu-jitsu? They had their full-time gym then. And he was like, yeah, pop over. I done one jiu-jitsu class. Then it was my second night doing jiu-jitsu, and Paddy was actually away that day, and there was a different coach there, Kiefer Crosby, and he was like, Shauna, jump in and do this class. And I was like, yeah. I was like, I'm not really here for this. I wanted to just do jiu-jitsu and maybe not compete and just be the complete opposite for once. And he was like, jump into the class. And I just fell in love. Paddy came back the next night, and I was like, I'm all in. I want to go to the UFC. Let's go. How do we get started? What's next? Can I have a fight? And he was like, you need to relax.
Wow. And
but it was just go from there.
how long ago was that? What year was that?
That was 5 years ago. April 5 years ago, I joined Paddy's gym.
Okay, so April 5 years ago, that's 2018. What's happening between 2018 and 2022? Why does it take you so long to make your pro debut?
So I waited probably about 9 months before my amateur debut because I came from like a point fight and kickboxing background. So I was like blitzing everyone, kicking multiple times, like with my leg in the air, and I was getting flipped and on my back. So I had to learn jiu-jitsu and wrestling. So I took about like, I think it was 8 or 9 months before my debut. And then I was pretty active. I was going to the IMAFs. I was trying to compete as much as possible. It was kind of hard in Ireland. There was not as many girls. So I had to go over to England a bit and go to the IMAFs. And then I got pregnant. So I fell pregnant. That put a bit of a delay on my professional career. But it happened during COVID as well. So it was kind of the best time possible because the whole world was really stopped at that stage. I was almost ready to go pro. I was planning on having one more fight, and then I was gone pro. And I fell pregnant on Jace. So that was what the hold up was. And then COVID. So when I was back, I was scheduled to fight like 3 months after Jace was born. And we went into another lockdown. The show was cancelled, which was probably best off because 3 months was ridiculously fast when I look back now after giving birth. And then I think I was 6 months. Jace was 6 months, and I had my first fight back, and I done 5 more amateurs just to get back into the swing of things. And I went to an IMAFs, won the IMAFs because I had Kane second before Jace in the IMAFs, so I wanted to go back, win that, done another few shows, and then went pro.
So it's interesting to hear you say like, oh, that was probably the best thing, and it was probably the best time to get pregnant. Because I've heard interviews with you where you have said like you felt like your whole world was coming crashing down, like COVID was stopping things. You're going to be a mom now. Who knows how you're going to come back from that? It didn't seem as positive in the past when I've heard you talk about all this. These are positive things, but it seems like now in retrospect, you're okay with how everything turned out, obviously. But at the time, did you think potentially that your athletic career was coming to a close?
Yeah, 100%. Like when I seen that positive pregnancy test, I cried for 2 hours straight, like literally hysterical. I thought like martial arts is all I've known my whole life. And for something like your average day, your daily thing, your goals, that's all taken away from you. That's all put on hold. And it was like I literally didn't know who I was. It was like an identity crisis, I suppose. I was just like, what am I going to do? How am I going to have a child and be as successful as I want to be? How am I going to be at that level when I have to look after someone, someone's dependent on me? And I couldn't see any positivity. Like, I don't think I accepted I was pregnant until I was about 20 weeks pregnant. Like, I just was in denial about the situation. I was like, what the fuck? And then the more I got my head around it, I accepted it. And I even like my whole pregnancy was quite negative. I'm not going to lie. It was a negative time. I couldn't wait to give birth. And then as soon as Jace was put into my arms, like the love I have for that kid is like next to none. My life only began when he came, you know. I've so much love for him. And now the drive, like I thought I was driven before, the drive inside me now and the passion and the dedication and just everything is just multiplied. Because it's all for him. I'm doing all this to change his life. I have the opportunity this weekend to go out and show the world who I am and change my life for the better for me, my family, and most importantly for my son, because he is my everything and he is my reason why.
Wow. That is beautiful. I do understand you are a single mother, right? And so how difficult is that to be, you know, it's tough enough to be a fighter. Come home, you don't have a lot of energy. Most fighters want to just sit on the couch and recuperate. You have to take care of a boy who I think is around 2 years old, right? So, I mean, they are a ball of energy at that age. How do you balance the two?
Yeah. Do you know what? I don't like the first year Jace was born. I think I was definitely in autopilot because he was dreadful at sleep, and I was training on like 2 hours of broken sleep after being up breastfeeding the whole night. And like the first year was just mad. Now he's obviously a little bit older, but he has way more energy and he wants way more attention and he wants to interact constantly. So it is really tiring. But when I look at his smile on his face, there's nothing that can like, it's just me coming home from training, even if I've had a bad session or I'm tired or I'm drained and I come home and look at him, I can be nothing but happy because he's just the best kid ever.
Wow. Does he understand what his mom does or not quite yet? Probably not, right?
Yeah, no, he does.
He does.
He's like, dush, dush. Yeah. He's like, kick, kick, dush, dush, mama. And then he's in like his thing lately is choking me. So he jumps on me back and strangles me. And he's loving that. He's like, I want to go training with you. Can I come training with you? And I'm like, no, because we'll get nothing done. Because I have brought him to the gym a couple of times and it's just like he wants all the attention. So it's if we're going to the gym, it's not when a session needs to be done. But yeah, he loves that, and I really think that he's going to be into it as well.
Will you be okay with that?
He's very interested.
Would you be okay with him training?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, like, do you know what? When I was growing up, I used to look at some of the parents in kickboxing, and I'd be like, "You are crazy!" Like they'd be totally too invested in like OTT, and I'm like, I was only because I was over in Poland with my sister fighting in the European Olympic Games 2 weeks ago. Some of the parents were there that I would have thought were crazy, and I had to say to them, I was like, I understand now. That's going to be me. Like, okay. I'm going to be that crazy mom at the sideline, like, I'll kill you.
I understand.
That's going to be me.
The event is going to air, I think, on free TV on Virgin Media in Ireland. Will you be okay with him watching you live, or will you only show him after the fact?
Well, he's actually coming over to London on Thursday.
Wow.
So he's coming over with my mum. I have some family here. So he'll be at the face-offs and well, he won't be at the fight because he was at one of my fights before. It was my last amateur fight and it was just a bit much for him. He's still a little bit too young, you know. So he'll be at the face-offs and I'll get to see him before the fight because I was on FaceTime to him yesterday and he's like, Mama, will you come home? I miss you. Can you come home now? And so like I can't wait to give him a squeeze on Friday before the fight. But he won't be at the actual show, but at least I'll get to see him after and have some pizza and cuddles with him.
I have so much love and admiration for Paddy Holohan, one of my favorite people that I've ever met. The type of guy, like when I was in Ireland just a couple of months ago for the Katie Taylor fight, out of the blue, he sends me a long voice note saying if I need anything in Ireland, he'll come and pick me up. He'll take me anywhere. Just like salt of the earth type of guy. And so I love that he's a part of your story and your life and that he's your head coach. And so can I just ask you what makes him so special as head coach? Because I do believe you're his first fighter to make it to the UFC from the Houlihan Martial Arts Gym. So what has been so good about having him by your side as you progress in your MMA career?
You know, Paddy is like, he's one of a kind. He really is. Like, he genuinely cares. That's like the most special thing, because I really believe you need to have trust in your coach. And you see these people kind of going from gym to gym to gym. And I'm like, how do you do that? How do you trust what someone's saying to you when you don't have that connection and bond? Like, I know Paddy longer than 5 years, but I know him closely 5 years. And he has never pointed me in the wrong direction. When he gives me advice, it's genuinely for what's best for me and Jace. He wants me to do well for me. It's nothing is about him. It's all for me. And he genuinely cares. And like the guidance that he gives me, not just inside the cage, but outside the cage as well for life. He's a coach and he's a friend, and I'm super grateful to have him and his partner Chelsea, the two of them. They'd literally do anything for me, and without them I wouldn't be where I am today. Like, even throughout my whole pregnancy, when I was going through all that negativity and just being like, my mind couldn't switch to seeing positivity, they were there for me throughout the whole of that. And that's something that I'll always be grateful for. And even now, like, I wreck Paddy's head. Like, I wreck his head. Like, if I don't have a fight booked, if I don't have, I'm like, Paddy, 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 Paddy. And he's like, will you just relax? It's all going to work out. And I'm like, ah, I'm on his case the whole time. And he never once tells me to like leave him alone or whatever. He's like, okay, I'm on it. Let's do this. Let's do this. And I think that's how we've progressed so fast. Like, because the two of us as a team, we just work really well together. And to be his first student in the UFC is amazing. And like, I kept saying, like, before I was here, I was like, he's walked the walk that I want to walk, and he knows what it feels like. And the mistakes he's made, he's like able to tell me, well, I done this and I would have done this. And, you know, he's literally walked the pave. So it's just like following in his footsteps. Any errors he made, we can correct them. So it's super cool.
Yeah, and it must be cool to go through all these firsts this week, but have him by your side because he's experienced this all. He knows it's all familiar to him. So hopefully it's not as daunting for you. Must also be cool to get, you know, the vote of confidence from Conor McGregor, right? I saw his tweet about you and that they'll be showing your fight at the Black Forge Inn, which he's so proud of. And I know there's like some drama with the gyms and whatnot, but for him to have that support with you, or for you, I should say, how did that make you feel when you saw that?
Oh no, I was over the moon, really. Like, when I got the call to say that you would sponsor me, and like the sport, even like before I was in the UFC, he used to congratulate me and text me well done. And like, it's just, I really hope he can come back and fight as well, and we can have a whole new Irish fight, because I do really believe that the takeover part 2 is going to happen. There's 4 Irish fighters on the roster now, and there's so many more to come as well. Like, Ireland has like unbelievable athletes, and we've seen it happen before, and I think it's about to happen again, and I'm so excited to be part of it.
Yeah, Conor McGregor, Ian Gary, you, Reese McKee back. I know there's a lot of excitement about Paul Hughes and others.
Yeah.
So that would be very cool. By the way, I'm assuming yes, but maybe not. Have you talked to Aisling Daly at all throughout your career about getting to the UFC, about being the second? Yeah, do you have a relationship with her?
Yeah. We've trained together a good bit as well. So
Nice.
like, Ash has my back 100%. She's legit. Like, she done this all when nobody was doing it, when there was no girls doing it, when she had no female training partners. It was just, she's literally the OG of Irish female MMA. Like, nobody's done it like Ash, and it's just like, I don't think she gets enough credit for what she done, especially in the time that it was. You know, like, obviously now it's female MMA has grown so much in the past 10 years, but back then nobody was doing it, and she made it happen.
Well, what's the most amount of people that you've ever competed in front of?
No, I'm trying to think. Um, probably my pro debut, I think.
And how
We
many?
had an event in Tala. It was in my hometown. God, I don't know.
Anywhere near
So
20,000?
no.
So the
Like,
point is, this is
no,
going to be the most
definitely
amount
not.
of people you've ever competed in front of, by far.
Yeah. But you know what? That doesn't faze me. I'm like, it is what it is. Do you know what I mean? Whether it's in a local sports hall or whether it's in the O2 or the Tree Arena or wherever it may be, I'm gonna go out there and do my job. Like I've competed at all different levels my whole life, and I know how to deal with the nerves. I've competed hundreds of times, like hundreds of times. So I know how to manage my nerves, and I know that I've put in the preparation that needs to be done. So that gives me the confidence going into the cage because I've done everything and more that I needed to do.
And you're on the card with your good friend Molly McCann, right? You guys train together as well?
Yeah, I do. I've been training with Molly now probably about a year and a half, coming over to Liverpool, and she comes over to us and we train back and forth. So it's really good to have like a high level training partner and sparring partner, and we go in and we have a knock
And
every time. It's like an actual fight. We'd be like walking to the cage and I'm like, I feel like I have butterflies, and she's like, I have butterflies, and it's like the actual fight feeling, do you know what I mean? And we go for it, and it's great because you learn so much, and afterwards she's saying to me the good and the bad, and I'm saying to her the good and the bad, and we give each other feedback, and it's a positive vibe, you know.
by the way, is your sister trying out for the Olympics?
So my sister went to the European Olympic Games in Poland 2 weeks ago. She came third, and then the Olympics kickboxing is like waiting on acceptance to the full
Okay.
Olympics. So yeah, there's a bit of a process, but she came third in the European Olympic Games.
All right. And last weekend, you were at the Kingpin event. What did you think of that scene? I heard that you were there. You were sitting next to Pizzi and Elaine. What did you think of it all?
Yeah, it was mad. I don't know how to, I have no words. Me and Beatty were sitting there and his girlfriend was there and we were kind of just like, and then like, I don't think they knew what was going to happen next. Nobody knew what was going to happen next. It was just, I've no words. Even the next day I woke up and I was like, what was last night? Like, what was it? Like, Kiefer's fight was brilliant. Keane's fight was brilliant. There was a one or no, it was mad. Like, there was one girl and I swear it was like she was doing the front stroke.
Yeah.
Well, come here, fair play to her. She's done it for every round, for every minute of every round. I was like, how's she not gassed? Because she's so, like, it was woo woo. And I was just like, and nobody was the same weight. Not one
Right.
fight that was matched weights. Everybody was different weights. I was like, what is going on? This girl's here. And there was flashing of tits. There was everything. It was, yeah.
A little something for everyone, but not your cup of tea.
No, I couldn't wait to leave. It was like, I was there for like, I wanted to see, I trained with Kiefer. So I was like, right, I want to see Kiefer fight and I wanted to see Keane's fight as well. And then the guy that runs Cage Legacy, Deco Kenny, he was fighting on it as well. So I wanted to see them three fights, and they were originally scheduled for like the prelim. So I was like, brilliant, go in, watch them, bounce. And then they pushed them back to the end of the card. So I had to wait for ages. Like 95% of the people there were Brazilian and they were chanting, and I felt like I was in Brazil.
Wow. Well, it will not be like that on Saturday. You will get love. You are fighting a Brazilian, so you will. I would imagine you'll get love in London. What is your official prediction? How does it go down, your debut?
I'm going to knock her out in the second round.
Wow. Confident. Right off the top.
Foot to the mush, and I want a bonus off Dana.
All right. There it is. This has been so lovely. Great to meet you for the first time. I'm so happy for you and Paddy, and I wish you nothing but the best. I love all things Irish. I'm one of my favorite fighters is Katie Taylor, and so I have an affinity for fighters coming from Ireland, and it's great to see finally another Irish woman in the UFC, finally, after all this time. Shout out to the legend, the OG, as you say, Aisling Daly. And it's great to see this new era, this takeover part 2, as you say, coming into the fold. So I wish you nothing but the best. Thank you for coming on in the midst of fight week. And good luck on Saturday. Can't wait to see it.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate you having me. Thanks so much. Have a great day.
Same to you. There she is, Shauna Bannon. What a delight.